Leo Sebastian awoke at exactly 6:12 a.m. Leo awoke at exactly 6:12 a.m. every morning and so didn't consider it to be overly portentous. Some people would think it strange to wake at precisely the same time every morning. Leo Sebastian liked it just fine. For Leo even considers himself a creature of habit. He sees there's nothing to be ashamed of. Leo has his routine down pat. Leo Sebastian believes he has mastered the art of boiling an egg, or at least as close to mastery as any man can hope to get. He realises that eggs pay no heed to our established concept of time, and so any attempt to prescribe a time frame is doomed to failure. If pushed, he would say 6 minutes, but stress that each egg should really be approached with individual consideration. Leo Sebastian eats the same breakfast he has eaten every morning for at least as many years as he has lived in this house. A soft-boiled egg, 2 pieces of toast, 1 buttered, 1 not, and a small pot of sweet tea. Some may also think it strange to eat the exact same breakfast day after day. Again, Leo is not one of them. His defence is simply that he likes it. At 7:25 a.m, Leo Sebastian dresses and leaves for work. He walks down the gently sloping hill to Costello Street Printery. A particular trait of Leo Sebastian's character is that he follows rules implicitly. Leo Sebastian has always adhered to simple laws. He sees others who seem to go out of their way to subvert them as though doing so represents some display of rebellious liberation. If one does experience such a feeling, he assumes it to be fairly hollow, and prefers to simply, quietly abide. Because really, what does rebellion demonstrate other than overt contrariness or petulance, neither of which are character traits that Leo Sebastian considers admirable? Leo Sebastian is 63 years old. He has done, ostensibly, the same job for 36 years. Though his job title has changed over that time, with a staggering frequency in the last decade, on a practical level his job has remained basically as it was when he started as a 22-year-old. He is the oldest member of staff at the printery by a considerable margin, and has very little to do with his co-workers. Working alone on one of the busiest of the presses necessitates hours of isolation from his peers, but Leo feels that he would have little more to say to his workmates if he did react with them more regularly. At the end of the month, after 33 years, Leo Sebastian will do his last day's work at the printery. When he started at 22, he'd planned to stay in the job for a year. But then again his plan was to become a bull rider, so he considers it as possibly best that he stayed to work the old printer. The very same machine he's working on today. The only machine he's ever used. He'd have to admit that he'd always thought it would retire before he. But he's been told that he has to take at least 18 months long service leave before he reaches retirement age. The benefit of some apparently hard-fought enterprise bargaining agreement. As it is, Leo has no need to still be working. Over the years he and Veronica had saved up more than enough money to have comfortably retired years ago. He and Veronica had both always worked, and having not been able to bear children, they'd always been able to easily provide for their own modest needs. Printers are better paid than most of the trades, and Veronica had always been very erudite in the handling of money. They didn't retire because neither he or Veronica had ever been very good at being idle. Leo would also happily admit that he enjoys the work. He always has. Leo Sebastian considers that this afternoon will be one of his last return trips from work. One of the last of many over the years, back up Costello Street. Leo Sebastian doesn't like the evenings. He's found that if he can keep his hands busy, he can pass a day easily. But the nights, he finds they tend to drag. At 7:25 p.m, Leo Sebastian puts on his coat. He checks the bedroom before turning off the light. He finds it strange that a pillow is out of place. After all, he hasn't slept there in 7 months. Leo Sebastian closes his front door behind him, double checks that it's locked, and walks down the gently sloping hill to Costello Street State. Costello Street has always been one of the more grand stations, and unlike others along the route, has maintained much of its structural integrity and old grandeur. Leo Sebastian remembers every inch of this place. His father was the caretaker station master, and Leo spent much of his youth exploring its vast possibilities for adventure. There was no better place for a kid to have the run of. From the bench on the platform where he sits, Leo can see the small door set into the side of the station house where he would hide during the days of school holidays while he waited for his father. Leo Sebastian is sitting in the very spot he was sitting in when, those many years ago, he first saw Veronica. She was standing on the platform behind the yellow line with an enormous suitcase which she dropped. Leo had helped her with the bags and saw the rosy flush come across her cheeks before his eyes. She smiled an embarrassed smile and thanked him. Leo Sebastian believes he fell in love with that smiling embarrassed girl in that instant, right there on the platform of Costello Street Station. Leo Sebastian sits on the bench on the platform and thinks of his wife, just as he had done 7 months earlier when he lost her. He had sat there for 5.5 hours that night when he couldn't go home. At 7:35, Leo Sebastian walks to Veronica's spot and prepares to actively break a rule for the first time in his life.